Live.
What is going on, guys? What is going on? It is the 480 podcast, part of the 480 experience. And today, we're trying to figure out if Sam Levitt is really him.
Is he?
I don't know. I don't
know,
know, guys.
I don't know, Jim.
I'm not sure, but you're in for a good episode, so stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we should get Tony Romo's take on him.
What is
We
going
should.
on,
I
guys?
completely
What-
agree with you. Oh, is that us?
That is us.
That is us.
If we got
Oh, wow.
Tony Romo to commentate FS1 coverage, Tony
My
Romo.
prediction is they're going to be running in a 3-4-3 coverage, and I also think that there's might be a touchdown in the way if they run their wide out on a post and if they run their wide receiver 2 on a go. That's Tony Romo for you. That's basic broadcasting. With Tony.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's the prediction. Okay, they literally had to ask him to stop predicting games during his his broadcast.
They did. No,
They did.
Tony's okay. But let's get right into it, guys. Let's get into it. Kansas, they're 1-4 on the season.
I'm scared.
What do you think? What have you seen from Kansas offensively, and how do you think Arizona State is going to react to it defensively?
A lack of bowl eligibility.
That's
That's what I've seen from their offense, a lack of bowl eligibility. Because their offense has lost them the games, right?
It has.
Is that easy to convey where the offense has lost them games? The offense lost to UNLV. Their offense lost to West Virginia. What would you say on that? You watched the West Virginia game.
Yeah, so I studied the West Virginia game, and it's an offense that I think could be run well. Okay, they have some good tight ends. Let me see. I wrote it down here. Okay, they have some good tight ends. Okay,
They like the big guys.
yeah, Jared Casey, Trevor Cardell, Jaden Ham, and Leighton Cure. Those are all guys that are gonna get a lot of reps. It's a very
But tell me who their wide receiver one is.
Luke Grimm.
Yeah, that's a boy right there. That's like our Jake Smith, like making Jake Smith a wide receiver one.
I don't know if we should compare Jake Smith.
Yeah, because
especially
Luke
after
Grimm
last
has
game.
better stats than
Yeah.
Jordan Tyson. So
Yeah.
But no, what I've seen from Kansas's offense is it's a lot of 21 personnel, a lot of 23 personnel out of the shotgun, lots of wham blocks. It's just a lot of movement up front. If Arizona State and Brian Ward can figure that out, their offense can be easily negated.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Brian Ward, his defensive schemes have really been shocking to me this year in the way that they've been so effective. I feel like Brian Ward has gotten back to this aggressive defensive play that we've seen from him this year. I do think the first half mishaps and the miscues definitely need to be a little bit more fixed going into this game against Kansas. And for the rest of the year, first half defense usually tends to struggle. It was there with Texas State. It was there against Texas Tech.
And we put them in bad positions as well.
We did. We
Like
completely did.
We put them on their second drive on their side of the field
Yeah, of course.
with
And
that interception.
I agree. And that's one of the things that we also got to limit on offense there is the turnovers. Got to make sure, too, that we're converting on third downs. It's just basic stuff that we need to get going forward. Brian Ward's defense, though, and I think with this Marcus Arroyo offense, there's a lot of potential here, and the offense just needs to step up next game, and the defense just needs to be solid throughout the whole game.
Yeah, this is the healthiest the defense has been all year.
True.
Jordan Crook now has another game under his belt, but Tate Romney, he's going to be a great rotational piece for the inside linebackers. I think he'll help a lot of those dime coverages. Cannot wait to see LaTerrence Welch on the other side of Javon Robinson, helping Keith Abney just diminish the pressure he had. It was visible. He was struggling last Saturday.
I think it's the flags, too, you got to limit a little bit, too, on defense. I mean, Keith Abney was drawing out a lot of stuff on those PI calls, those holding calls.
Discipline as well. Like, don't
For sure.
do any roughing or don't do any unnecessary roughness. And we don't need any of those calls. And especially the face mask.
Mile Rouser.
Yeah, Route goes.
No more Rouser.
And then Justin Woodley, don't try to tackle with the face mask. You're a way talented player.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see him more from pass rush. But we didn't really see much of Prince Storeball football last week or 2 weeks ago. He was more of a rotational OLB3, and I definitely like him on the edge a lot more this week.
I agree. Having him on the edge has definitely been helpful on this defensive squad.
So when you're going up against this 21-23 personnel and you're Brian Ward, do you send a guy keying in on Jalon Daniels every snap so you avoid the QB run?
So what I saw, okay, I have a note. It's something I saw in the very first quarter, okay?
Yeah.
Number 77, he's, I believe, the left tackle for Kansas, okay? Bryce Cabledew. So on a Jalon Daniels interception, Bryce Cabledew is pressured with a lot of speed, okay? Not a lot of power, a speed rusher, and he's able to just blow right by him, force Jalon Daniels to run right, but then the right side of the pocket is keeping contained. And so Daniels is stuck in this odd place where there's a guy bearing down on his back, but his offensive linemen on the right side are actually holding up pretty good. And so he, makes a bad decision and throws an interception. And that's the Jalon Daniels experience this year. He has 8 interceptions on the year. He's second in the FBS. Second.
Damn, really?
Yes, he's behind one guy who has like 10. And
Very
he goes
sad.
to like some, I don't even know what school he goes to, okay? So
That'd be
don't blame
me.
you.
That'd be me, bro.
no, I know. We could all go out
Me
there
on
and throw
Heisman
it.
difficulty.
Bro, legit. That's me playing CFP 25. I'm not gonna lie. That's me whenever I go up against top 25s.
Damn, so with Jalen's athleticism, that's what I feel like the key is. If you send a guy going straight for his legs every single time,
Well, we don't want to tackle a
yeah,
guy by his
no,
legs. That's
by
not
the
nice. That's
no, that's how you tackle someone.
Well,
you don't
I mean,
tackle a guy by
there's-
their legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you tackle someone. What are you talking about?
No,
No,
By the
there's
hips
no-
and the legs.
no,
There's not
no,
a-
no.
you can't do
No,
the hip
I'm
drop,
not
I get
talking
it,
below
but
the
like-
knees. I'm talking for
Isn't
the
it
quads.
isn't it? Oh, okay. I was
Yeah, I'm not talking below the knees.
I was like, man, we're not trying to
I'm
injure
saying-
Yeah, we're not
Jalon
trying to-
Daniels over
if
here.
you got a Jalon Daniels QB run option, right?
Okay.
He's going to have one or two of his running backs right next to him, and sometimes he even does pistol with 2 guys in the middle.
That one's pretty rare. For the most part, I think he did. Most of his sets are just with either Devin Neal or one of his other running backs right
But
behind him.
the
in shotgun.
intention is to drive in the linebackers and distract them into thinking that it is a run, and then they're able to pull the ball back, and he's using his athleticism to either break the pocket, make a pass, or even make a QB run. If I'm seeing Clayton Smith or Elijah Neal simply keying in on him, it's basically the game plan that the Steelers instill against the Ravens. Screw the running back. The Lamar Jackson is the most dangerous part of that offense. TJ Watt, I want you tackling him every single time he gets the ball snapped to him. I don't care if he doesn't keep it. I don't care. I don't want you going for the running back.
So you're saying there needs to be a QB spy every play or
I
QB
do.
contain? Okay.
I do, because
So-
I
if
can
you
get
see some of
behind that.
Jalon Daniels touchdowns, a lot of them are running touchdowns, and they're 25, 30-yard explosive plays where if he breaks it to the second level, none of our guys are catching up to him.
Right.
Zay is not tackling Jalon Daniels in the open field. Shamari Simmons, okay, that's the only exception. Ghost Rouser might even get beat, but I don't believe in any of our other DB cores or second-level defenders to catch up with Jalon Daniels. That's why we have to get him behind the line of scrimmage every play.
I agree.
So now the question arises: who is fit for that responsibility of being a spy?
I personally love the idea of being in Miles Rouser, Ghost. I personally love seeing him at that spy position. I think he's a guy that can get out onto the outside very well. I think his shed blocking is probably the best on the squad, in my opinion. I think CJ Fight and as well as many others on that front seven are old guys that tend
Ghost
to do a
had
lot
2
more
sacks
pull.
last week. He
did, yeah.
One of them was negated for the penalty, but
All right,
still,
okay.
those
That was a
cornerbacks-
That was
stupid
a dumb
That was a
penalty.
dumb
Nah,
call.
on him. Bro can't look over the quarterback.
Okay,
like that.
but there
But
was
why?
a play very
But
similar.
why?
There was a
But
play
why?
so
Because if he's
similar
on the
that year.
floor looking up, it's just bad sportsmanship to look down at him and cuss him out.
Okay, but he didn't cuss him out.
I mean, he looked over him and we didn't hear anything because there's no caption
He
speech
didn't.
to text.
He did not. He did not cuss him out. He stood over him, flexed, and went and that was it.
How do you know that?
Because that's what he did. If you look at the video, you see him go,
you just see him going like this, but you didn't go. You keep your ass on the floor, like you didn't.
He
You
did
don't
not
know what he
say
said that. You don't
There's
know.
No, he stood over and he was getting off. But in my-
The ref was right there. That's why he.
okay,
threw
but
the
in those
flag.
situations, you pull them aside. These are college kids all trying to have fun and also be
Yeah.
competitive. You pull them aside and you say, "Hey, look, you can't do that. That's not a flag."
So
play.
you say the left tackle struggled against the speed rush.
Yes.
What I noticed from this Kansas O-line is a little bit of lack of discipline where they actually find themselves in a lot of penalties. I saw a lot of holding calls last week against TCU. TCU was getting the better end of them because Kansas started off really hot, but once Josh Hoover and TCU adjusted, matched that energy, then Kansas was in a catch-22 because they weren't playing with a lead anymore. They were playing to win. And that's when they struggle. When they play to win is when they get too intentional with their
They get too
athleticism.
abrasive, yeah.
Yeah, they get too intentional with their athleticism, and they completely get away from the structure of what their offense is. So that means lack of Devin Neal carries, lack of discipline with Jalon Daniels, and not giving you a turnover. So that's pretty much what we need to do. We need to keep Kansas in a position where they're not with a lead, and that they need to play to win. Because I like us better as a playing to win school as a football team. We had to play to win against Texas State.
Yeah.
We responded. Had to play to win against Texas Tech. We were actually playing to win from a deficit, and we hadn't really had that before. And I still think we responded well. I do. It was a good game. It was a winnable game, like we say.
It was a winnable game. And Strider, I know you've watched a lot of film on this squad so far. What would you say is the biggest thing that ASU's defense needs to do in order to kind of take down this Kansas State offense?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a play out of Trev's book here and explain the context. Trev loves his context.
Yep.
I'll explain the context, okay? So as a quarterback, you have your offensive coordinator, okay?
Yep.
The offensive coordinator controls two types of throws. The outlet, the short, quick hits. That's an offensive coordinator's doing, okay? And the deep balls. Typically, deep balls are decided before the play starts unless you scramble out and, make something happen. But that's an off-schedule play, okay? Now, the intermediate ball, that's where the good QBs in college, in NFL, and even at the high school level, if you can complete a good, on-time intermediate ball, that's how you know that is a good quarterback right there, okay? So for Arizona State to succeed, I think you need to take away all the short stuff. Their tight ends are going to run a lot of hook routes, and it's going to be kind of boring to watch. There's going to be a lot of short runs, okay, to try to set up some space for Jalon Daniels, who's largely struggled this year to get some passes.
Can I add a little point to that?
Yeah.
Jalon Daniels really struggles to throw a side of the numbers, like outside of the numbers. So like those 10 and outs and like those 15-yard curls, like he's less accurate, especially when he's
I
down.
agree with that. His placement throws have issues on the outside a lot.
Exactly. So for Arizona State, I think the game plan is keep contain. Keep them in the pocket. Even if Arizona State leaves this game with 0 sacks, but a Jaden Daniels, he only has like 20 yards.
Yeah.
Like
on the ground.
Yeah, I'm going to feel very good about that because that means they held contain, okay? That's the most important thing. Don't let him get outside the pocket because when he does make those good plays, it's really not usually in the pocket. He's not the best pocket passer by any means, especially in the Big 12. He's one of the least accurate pocket passers. So force him to make the intermediate throw and let our linebackers, do their thing against him.
Yeah, because our DB core matches really well with this team. Like, I don't mind Keith Abney going up against Luke Grimm. I don't.
No.
Who's their other receiver? He's number 0.
Number 0. Is it Lawrence Arnold? I believe.
Arnold. He's 2, I think, actually. Or no, he might be 0.
And then there's also Quentin Skinner. Those are their top 3 wide receivers.
All right. So I know Arnold because he is kind of like a Jordan Tyson, a very athletic, lengthy receiver, has that yak ability. But what the problem is their connection. They're not able to connect on the same page a lot of the times. And when Arnold does win his route on the outside of the numbers, he doesn't get the ball. So I really like Keith Abney going up against Grimm, and then I like Javon and LT switching off on Arnold. So again, Zay needs to stay in the back of the zone, and we need to keep this team mitigated to in between the numbers, and that's where we'll capitalize on it with a turnover or 2. We need a turnover, guys. We're on a consensus here, right?
Week 1 was great, but ever since that, the turnovers I feel like have been lacking here for ASU's defense. ASU just needs to really get the ball moving on defense. I feel like we keep getting beat out by these short run plays right up the middle. We get beat up in the middle a lot.
There's been splash plays on defense. There has been turnovers.
And a lot of that I feel like is to Javen Robinson. He's a guy that gets beat often. I feel like Javen, especially against Texas Tech, he was getting beat so much. Especially on those hooks.
It was Keith.
Well, it was a little bit of both because there was that one play. There was a few plays where they were playing that curl route. They were playing those hooks. Came back, just got the better of him a lot of the times. He didn't do a great job.
We were
to
watching
his man.
where it was that same play where all they're doing are the post routes in between the numbers and the quarterback's getting the ball on the play action.
And that's a high school play.
It is.
Me and Kai called a high school game last night, Red Mountain Highland.
It was very.
We saw that same play ran like 10 times in the first quarter.
At least. And it worked out for a few squads. There was that one to Hayden Daughtry that worked out, but there was a few times where it was missed. But I agree with that. The defense for ASU gets beat a lot across the middle of the field. So then
let's do inside release. I don't want to see these guys off.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Keith Abney 10, 15 yards off the receiver this time, giving up 4 third-down conversions on a post route every single time. I want to see him in the face of Luke Grimm, of Arnold. I know we can match up against this wide receiver core.
Yeah, and I don't think we can talk about this Kansas State offense without talking about their running back core. Kai, bring up the graphic.
Yes, sir. Got you all day.
All right. Their running backs, Devin Neal and also Daniel Hishaw Jr.
Yep.
What a group. What a group right there, man. 2 dogs. Okay, let's look at their stats, okay? Devin Neal, 513 yards, 6 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. He averages over 100 yards per game. He is one of the best running backs in all of college football.
Yeah, he's a top 10 leaderboard with his stats.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then Daniel Hishaw Jr., 262 yards on 6.9 yards per carry.
Really good for RB2. Really good.
Great
oh,
RB2.
My goodness. What a 1-2 punch they got there. And that's why everybody had such high hopes for Jalon Daniels coming into the year, because how can you not produce when you have guys like that are always going to be open? Even though Devin Neal's a running back, he's a decent receiving option. 38 yards on the year on only 3 receptions. Every once in a while they'll send him out on a little swing or drag route, and he can do some damage.
He's the same measurables as Scadaboo, but I feel like he's a little bit more explosive.
Just slightly. I think Scadaboo's more in between the tackles. I think Neal has a little bit more speed.
I agree. I think Scadaboo's more that power back that you see in his. Daniel's one of those guys too that tends to beat a lot of those guys on the edge, tends to really get up the middle too really well. Great job at lane splitting. I think that's one of the things he does really well is lane splitting between the O-line. I think his IQ is very high too as a running back, like being able to read his O-line.
You mentioned wham blocks, right?
The wham blocks help out a lot.
Follow that pull. Follow that pull. Stay disciplined. Have good gap integrity, and then break it to the second level and get going.
For sure, and that's something I'm excited to see about. Is going to see the running back game between Cam Scadaboo and between Daniel. This is going to be a great game, in my opinion, to see how these running backs perform. And I want to see Cam Scadaboo too break through that O-line or break through that front 7 a lot more. I think he's going to have another big breakout game against this Kansas State defense. Or this Kansas defense, so I'm excited for that part of it too.
I like our linebacker core against this team. Like, I really like Zyrus, Keyshawn, Tate, and Jordan Crook just keying in on their guards, on their tackles, their keys, and then really executing the game plan. I think the most value will always be in stopping the run when you're facing Kansas, just because originally going into the season, they thought Jalon Daniels was going to be the athletic quarterback. They could have some sort of passing offense, but once they figured out that he had an inability to move past the chains with throwing outside the numbers, that's when they know, okay, Devin Neal's probably going to be our only source of offense this year, and Jalon Daniels will feed off of it. So
that leads us into what is wrong with Jalon Daniels. Can I bring up the graphic for me?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's look at Jalon Daniels' 2024 stats, okay?
Yep.
805 yards. That's 86th in FBS.
Sam Levitt's better.
Sam Levitt is better. 5 touchdowns.
Damn.
That's 88th in the FBS. 5 passing touchdowns, okay? 8 interceptions, 2nd in the FBS. Not a statistic you want to be second in. And 105.5 passer rating. That's 123rd in the FBS. And he's led the Jayhawks to a 1-4 record. So what is wrong with Jalon Daniels? These numbers through 5 games are way worse than his numbers through 3 games last year. What's going on?
For me, my take is that he is a less athletic version of Josh Allen. So what I mean, and less accurate passer. And the context is this. Josh Allen sometimes uses his athleticism and it lets it get to his head where he just becomes this egotistical quarterback that thinks he can make every throw on the field, or he thinks that his player is going to make the play. And that he finds himself in a lot of uncomfortable situations where they're just terrible turnovers. Like, why are you throwing that into double coverage? Why do you feel the need to thread that ball right there into that tight pocket just for it to get picked off? The situation is this. Jalon Daniels knows how athletic he is. You might just say, yeah, he's 105th in QBR in the entire league, but
It's 123rd.
123rd? Okay, but let's be real here. Jalon Daniels is a top 10 athletic quarterback in the country,
Yes.
right?
Without
Yes.
a doubt. Yeah.
There's not many quarterbacks that can move like him that at least have the talent that he has. So just with that undisciplined mindset right there, where I don't feel like their head coaches had them bought into a culture. I just feel like they're loosey-goosey with talent, kind of like how Florida State is. They have all this talent,
True.
but what's the buy-in, right? Well, the buy-in needs to be Jalon Daniels. You need to humble yourself because you have this very talented runner. Stop trying to be the hero. Like, quit it. Like, and that's what I saw with him last week against TCU. They started off strong because he wasn't trying to be the hero. He was, okay, I'll settle for these 5-yard, 10-yard curl routes. Just break the zone coverage, and we're good. We'll live to see another down. I love to feed Devin the ball. And that's why they had a great game. But TCU responded, and Josh Hoover's like, well, I'm sorry, but I'm actually the athletic thrower, and I'm actually going to make these splash plays. So then Jalon Daniels started to minimize his at least his good production within the first half. So the second half, Kansas was a lot worse, but it wasn't just because their defense wasn't playing as good, but it was because he was missing those easy throws.
For sure.
Daniels needs to be on time, and with all these moving parts, I just think they're not in your control, and he tries to put these situations in his control.
Right.
He tries to play hero ball, and you can't do that. You really can't because that mindset just eats you apart, and you're done as a football player. You gravitate too much towards the past plays, and you're not moving forward. You're not trying to be more consistent in the structure of football.
I completely agree with that, and I think that goes back to a point that I always try to make is where cockiness and I feel like overconfidence can cloud judgment, and I feel like that's where it comes to IQ for Jalon Daniels.
Yeah.
Something I think that he's been struggling with ever since he's been in CFB. I mean, Jalon Daniels is a great QB through and through. I will stand by that. Sure, the interceptions are there. It's the cocky plays where he gets overconfident on your right, which is where he gets messed up. It's being able to overestimate his abilities. And I think that's something he needs to learn, and that's something that you need to progress on as a player. You need to be able to read your receivers, read the routes too of the DBs being ran up on. And there's so many things that he needs to fix in his game on the passing side of things where I feel like he can just adjust better to be this QB that I think everybody knows that he can be. The potential is there for Jalon, without a doubt. And I think one of the biggest things he just needs to work on is being able to read his receivers and also read his ability as a player and as a QB. He needs to make sure that he is a leader through and through, but he also needs to make sure that he needs to realize what he has and utilize what he has.
What's your guys' opinion on this take? Jalon Daniels compared to Jalen Milroe last year within the first 3 weeks.
It's actually not a terrible take because, like I was mentioning with the intermediate passing accuracy,
Milroe has completely improved on that.
Milroe was a downright bad intermediate passer.
Yep.
Last year it was all short and long stuff, okay?
Yep.
And that's what comes with being a part of Alabama. You're going to have the players that are going to get open. You're going to be able to do that, but you still need to make the intermediate pass that's on you. And he progressed so much this year.
That's all you saw against Georgia last week. His first half was making those great 5-yard, 10-yard reads and moving the chains.
Yeah, of course. And Milroe's now becoming one of those guys that people are saying could be one of the first QBs to go off the draft board.
He should be, in my
I know there's a lot
opinion.
of talk too about him going to Miami potentially. I know Dion came out with the statement saying Shedur's going instead. But
Shedur's going to Las Vegas.
We'll see. I think he will go to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But long story short, I just think Jalon Daniels, he's a great QB. He's a guy that can get out of the pocket, give you big explosive plays, and he's just somebody that just needs to work on IQ. I just feel like if he gets better at reading the open man, if he gets better at reading the zone coverage, if he gets better at reading the man-to-man, who's beating who, he can be such a great QB. He's got the arm, he's got the speed, he's got the talent, he has everything he needs to succeed. And at the end of the day, it's just growing as a player. And IQ is something that I think comes along with experience. And like you said, with the
And
intermediate
coaching.
of course. And the intermediate
Maybe
passing
they
plays.
need to refresh coaching. We'll see, but
We'll see. Kansas
they're
is struggling this year.
Before Jalon Daniels football, Kansas has always been the doormat of the Big 12.
Of course.
We have always watched them from afar, knowing, okay, anytime you play Kansas, that's a gimme win for you as a Big 12 opponent. Some of these other teams like Baylor, they have not been the doormat of the Big 12 in previous years, but it's just starting to cater that way. But again, look at their record. Now they are visibly the doormat of the Big 12. So that just gives us the assumption that this is a must-win for Kenny. This is a must-win for our defense and a must thing to do to get a turnover. We cannot come out of Saturday without a turnover.
Exactly. And now let's move to Arizona State's offensive side of the ball. Kai, we got to talk about their cornerback room. Could you bring that graphic up for me, please?
Of course.
Ooh, dangerous.
This might be the best cornerback group in the entire country. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. And also Mello Dotson. So what I liked from West Virginia in the game that I saw is Kansas runs a lot of a 4-3 zone defense, okay? So Mello Dotson typically doesn't actually travel. Even though Mello Dotson's probably the second best corner in the entire Big 12, he doesn't travel with the best assignment, and you can afford to do that when you have a Kobe Bryant on the left side.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of, defensive right side. So I saw a lot of Mello Dotson on that defensive left side. And West Virginia did a thing that I liked is they lined up with 3 wide receivers out left. Okay. Yeah. So what West Virginia did that pretty much scored them a touchdown.
I think TCU did the same thing.
Yeah, it scored them a touchdown on one of their drives is play action. Okay, so play action, and the quarterback sells it enough that their linebacker, let's see who it was. Their nickel safety, Marvin Grant. Okay, he isn't really sure what to do, and they play a lot of nickel safety, a lot of safety up near the box. So he is he's caught flat-footed in the middle of no man's land. And it leaves a wide open slant for number 3 of West Virginia, Hudson Clement, for a 39-yard gain. All they did was a play action, and they sold it enough that their nickel safety didn't know what to do, and that's a wide open hole in their defense. And that's something I really do think that Arizona State can exploit, especially with the Cameron Scadaboo. They're going to have to, especially if we can get that running game going early, and Kansas has to respect it, then that opens up so much in a zone defense. Running the ball, you're going to get a lot of open passes, especially in the intermediate part of the field. And Sam Levitt has actually been a pretty good intermediate passer this year. His struggles have really come from the deep ball, I think, Levitt's. But intermediate, he's been solid, had a couple really good games doing it. And he's going to have some open opportunities with the Jordan Tyson.
Yeah, of course. I mean, going back to what you said about Cam, Cam's been going back to what you said about Sam. Sam on those intermediate passes, same thing with the deep ball, has struggled a little bit here and there, especially with, guys like Jordan Tyson and Jake Smith not being able to make some of their catches or be able to keep up with the ball. I think there's been some good placement by Sam Levitt in a lot of situations. There just hasn't been the wide receiver to really bring it down and make the connection. But going back to what you said, I think Cam Scadaboo too, running on those short intermediate pass routes is going to be something that they can really exploit on this cornerback core. They also, if you look a lot at Kansas State or Kansas defense, they don't run a lot of people on a hard flat route, and especially in that zone coverage, those outsides can get very open very quick, and that's going to be something I love to see because especially someone like Cameron Mateer who can get on those dig routes really easily, beat his man on the outside and come down with it. That's something where I think he can step up a lot this game. And that's something I want to see a lot, too, from Jake Smith and Malik McClain, who we got to see a little bit of last week in Texas Tech in Lubbock. But
freaking had a penalty because he went out of bounds.
Which was stupid. He also should have had a Hail Mary catch, but we won't talk about that one. But definitely, I think that this team is going to be really solid against this Kansas State defense. I think there will be a lot of adjusting and a lot of moving parts on both sides of the defensive ball for ASU and for Kansas. But ASU beating these guys on the outside is going to be really impactful. And on those short plays, running those bubble screens, RPOs, play actions, stuff like that, I think can really get to that Kansas defense really quick.
Yeah, here's what my speculation is. So I think that ASU is going to struggle in the first half because they're going to try to do short passes, and Kobe and Dodson are going to play cover 2. They're going to play tighter on those drag routes, on those mesh concepts. But when you get them comfortable to run cover 2, that is when you exploit them in the tempo offense. And so we'll get Sam Levitt going, get him some momentum, and then he'll start to hit those post routes. He'll hit a go route. I do think we could hit a go route. Yeah,
He can place the ball for sure.
Kobe Bryant's a top 20 NFL draft prospect, but do I still think Jordan Tyson can get a few routes?
I don't know if he's top 20. I think Dodson, if anything, will be the one that goes first.
Really?
Yeah, Dodson will go first for sure. Dude, well, with the way that he plays coverage.
They're both fantastic. They're both
Dotson,
top 5 corners in the Big 12.
For sure, I just give Dotson the edge.
I absolutely would. Yeah. I have their stats for their careers written down here. Melo Dotson, College Football Network ranked him number 2. So 10 career interceptions, 3rd-team All-American, 1st-team All-Big 12. So then Kobe Bryant, 5th best corner by College Football Network, 9 career interceptions, and 2nd-team All-Big 12 honors.
Yeah, so, and Dotson has three interceptions on the year already, just through 5 weeks.
Yeah, they're turnover machines.
They are.
So, Trev, explain to me the game in full. How do you think it's going to go? You already alluded to it a little bit, starting slow. But offense, defense, what do you think is going to happen? And then give us a prediction for the game.
My projection is a slow start again from ASU just after a bye week.
I agree with that.
There's just so much anxiety that goes into hosting this big of a home game, and you kind of forget of the structure, about everything you practice for. You just get lost in the moment. So, yeah, I do think Jalon Daniels might run a few. Devin Neal might break it to the second level, get a long 15-yard run. And that kind of thing, it just builds a lot of traction for this Jayhawks team because, in my opinion, they have everything to prove. If they go 1-5,
they're done.
They're done.
They're done.
Can't.
Some people are getting fired. Daniels is looking for a job at Waffle House.
Transfer portal.
It's going to be...
I don't know. I think Domino's is a better spot for Daniels.
No.
Dude, no. This team is desperate right now.
Starting out the year ranked 19th, I believe. Yep. Or were they 22nd and then moved up to 19th?
Yep. It was 22nd, moved up to 19th, and then dropped all the way back down after 2 back-to-back losses.
Yeah, so...
because they were upset by UNLV.
Yeah, they beat...
Which is now ranked top 25, by the way. UNLV has been a great squad.
Fantastic. And what's really interesting is Kansas and UNLV actually played in a bowl game last year, and Kansas was able to get the win.
That was guaranteed rate, right?
Yes, it was. It was at Chase Field. So.
I never really put so much value into that because they weren't playing all their players.
My. UNLV?
Not Kansas.
But they still won it.
But they won it.
I know, but they weren't playing all their players.
Okay, but they still won.
Without those players, then. That's even more impressive.
Yeah, they were a 9-win team.
Was the UNLV OC out there still? Yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah. I think it's his second year now.
Yeah, he won, but Kansas still won. That was impressive.
Actually their defense looked terrible.
But back to the original point. Back to the original point. We need to run the ball. So I think we're gonna start off slow, but then by the second half we'll come out of the gate running the ball a lot more disciplined, and then at the end of the day, you guys know how I feel. I want to wait a little bit for prediction time because I want to hear your guys' speculation first.
So I agree with you. I think Arizona State is going to start out a little bit slow. Okay, yeah, and I'm seeing Kansas State.
Hey, it's better we're used to it. We're ready for it. We're prepared than to go into game time and just have our expectations underseated.
Yeah. So Kansas is going to do a lot of tight end and running back things throughout the first and second quarter, okay? And Arizona State's just going to have to live with it. Yeah. I think they're going to get theirs, okay? And so what Arizona State's going to need to try to do in order to win this game is force Jalon Daniels to make a play. So he's going to get his short passes, and he might get a touchdown or 2 off of those short passes. But that's all it's going to be. You're not going to win a game throwing 2-yard out routes 40 times, right? So it's going to be about, can they stop him when he steps up and tries to make a big play? And
mess up his footwork a little bit.
mess up his footwork, give him some pressure, and they're gonna be able to get pressure.
Oh,
I believe.
Without a
this
doubt.
defense is fresh.
Yeah, they're gonna
Defense
be
is
able to
ready.
get some pressure. So it's gonna be about, is Jalon Daniels gonna make the play? And I think around the third quarter is when that first turnover is gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think the coach is gonna get tired of the monotony, and he's gonna say, okay, Daniels, go out there and make a play. And Daniels is going to be given the opportunity a couple times on a drive in the middle of the third quarter, and he's going to make a couple of mistakes, and that's going to be the key to how Arizona State's going to win the game. Early prediction right there. I'll let you know.
I think we
I
get a
completely
strip
agree
sack.
with that. I don't know about that one.
He's so mobile in the pocket.
He
that
is,
I don't
yeah.
know if
I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
know,
that's
but that's all it
gonna
takes.
come
It
to
might be his
fruition.
greatest fault.
See, I'm
Loosey-goosey.
I
with the
agree with
ball.
you guys in the sense that I can definitely see that it's I can definitely agree with the sense that this team might start out slow, but because I want to be different, I see this offense starting out aggressive. I see Kenny and Brian Ward saying, hey, am I allowed to cuss? Probably not.
You're fine. Just
Okay. I
You
think
just have to
Kenny,
pretend you didn't.
Yeah. I think Kenny and I think Brian Ward say, hey, get your fucking heads in the game and let's lock in and let's get some stuff going.
Yeah.
I think Kenny's going to want this offense to come out balling. I think he's going to want to have Cam being more aggressive than he's been. I think he's going to want
Relique
to
to
use
Carlos.
Agreed. I think Malik wants to go out and ball again. I think Jake Smith and Jordan Tyson get their reps in. I think that ASU gets on the
Xavier
board early.
Guillory
I see us
continues the
leading
ball.
by. I see us leading by 2 possessions into the second half. I see ASU going up by at least a field goal and a tutty. I see us locking down Kansas offense very early on. I see the defense coming out, balling out. I see us getting that contained down. I see us locking up Daniels in the first half. I think the second half is where there might be a little bit of a trend where we fall. I think that the defense gets a little bit tired for a little bit, lets up a tutty or two. I think same thing with ASU's offense, tired down, but the run game starts working out a lot more in that second half. I think we're going to see a lot more passing, being aggressive in the first half from ASU. They want to come out swinging. That was something they did against Wyoming. I mean, a team coming out after a offseason and going immediately to the run pass game. That intermediate passes were working really well in Wyoming. For Sam Levitt, he was making the connections. Jake Smith and Tyson were having their games. And that's something I see Kenny trying to stick to, that type of mentality, that type of aggressiveness going into the second half or going into the first half and wanting to establish themselves early on. I see ASU being very strong here through the first half. The second half, everybody kind of slows down, pumps the brakes a little bit, but I think ASU still comes out with the dub, and I think that this team comes out balling. I see personally us going up by two possessions to finish the game.
okay.
I
like that.
So listen to these matchups, guys. Dodson on Xavier Guillory, Kobe on Jordan Tyson.
It's probably going to be what it is. Or I see Dotson on Tyson, probably. Just
I think
because of the
Kobe-
speed matchup. Do you
Kobe's
think so?
more vocal. He's going to want Jordan.
I can see that. I think it's just the speed factor that I put Dotson on.
I mean, I think it mainly
Xavier's
depends
got
on
that.
where we line
He's
him up.
physical, though. He's a good body type.
That is true, because if you want to put physical on physical, then Kobe on Tyson probably.
So then that means
Or
Melquan
Guillory.
Stovall and our tight ends in command and Mark Heston need the ball.
Yeah, Stovall is going to be good. I'm excited to see his game, especially with him being at that punt return position. I think he's always been pretty solid.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, here is my score prediction. So I think it's going to be higher scoring. It's family weekend. I feel like there's going to be a lot more
Sellout
action.
crowd.
Yeah. We'll see. Like, I can't wait to see the attendance. Like, there's
It's
no way it hits 60.
it's sold out. It's sold out.
There's no way it hits 60K, though. There's
That
no way.
is that highest attendance that we've had? Because I know
well,
we
that's
haven't
our
sold out
max.
since
That's
USC,
our
right?
capacity. That's our
Isn't it?
capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've only been doing sub 50s
Right.
this season.
My bad. Get to your score predictions though. I'm so sorry.
No, I know. I'm thinking about it, but I think it's gonna be high scoring. I
right.
think we do win. I think it's going to be a 31-27 game.
Wow.
Very high scoring. I'm going to go very close. I was thinking 30-23. I think 2 field goals by each side, couple tutties, and this one's going to be close.
I see 30-14. This is where I see this
Yeah.
30-14, or I see something in the realm of 35 and a 24. I just see us winning by 2 possessions. You know what? I'm going to stick with that one. 35-24 is my final.
So we start slow, right? I think if we start slow
don't-
and we're going into halftime, I think we could be potentially down 10 to 21.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening. I see us going up. I see us going up by 4. I think it's 14-3 heading into half.
10 to 21, and then we get 3 second half touchdowns and force them to 2 field goals.
I see
Boom.
14-3. I see
Boom.
14-3 ASU had half.
Well,
Still, though, you got us winning by 16. That's crazy.
I'm
That
going to say
is-
35-24. Yeah, 35-24. I see.
Okay.
It. I just
11
see a
points.
2-possession
5
game.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh, buddy.
I see
One of the
Scatterman
worst
balling out.
red zone offenses in FBS.
I know we are, but I'm seeing us beating this Kansas off.
I hope DeCarlos Burks comes back. Like I really hope he balls out again.
Me too.
Because for me, I like him more as a change of pace running back. Because Raleek, I don't know, he hasn't done anything yet.
No.
So there's nothing really to speculate there. But I know
True.
DeCarlos is also another power back, just a little bit more speed, a little lighter. He hits those gaps just as aggressive as Scatterbo does, and you want a good hybrid running back room like that.
Of course you do.
That's kind of like Devin Neal and the other guy. They're both
Hishaw.
Yeah, Hishaw. Like Hishaw is not like a Jalen Warren type of running back.
True.
He's still an aggressive power back.
Jalen Warren.
That's a
That's a
Jalen
great
Warren-
That's an
comparison.
interesting
Anytime,
comparison.
if you know who
comparison.
Jalen Warren is, like he's such a unique
Everyone
body
knows
type.
who Jalen Warren
You-
It
is.
he's
reminds
such a
me
unique
of
body type.
Clinton Troy, the safety for the San
Okay.
Diego Chargers.
We're losing it.
That was an inside joke with him.
We are
Sorry.
losing it. It's been a great time talking with you guys.
What's your score?
What did you say? 31?
31 to 20. No, sorry.
No, 30.
30 to 23.
30-23. Okay.
All right, so ours is kind of
They're similar. We typically stay pretty similar.
Yeah.
But it's been a great episode,
Sorry, I
guys.
like to be different.
Family
what happens
weekend.
if it's low scoring?
Oh, we just
Er-
look stupid.
Yeah, if it's low scoring, I'm gonna be.
It's going to be like 14-10.
Dude, I have Kansas's defense is 73rd in the nation with 28.8 points per game, 70th in passing yards, and 59th in rushing yards.
You're telling me you don't think that we won't
And just
top
think
that
they
by
haven't
another
even really
10?
faced anyone like legit passing wise. Like West Virginia's a running football team, and Garrett Green got his way, won
Yeah.
a last minute touchdown.
Well,
UNLV running football team. Sluka had all.
That's
No.
what I don't agree with fully.
No, Sluka literally rushed for 100 plus and had less than 100 passing.
They were
know-
not a good they were not a good passing offense.
Yeah, they were
Not,
rushing.
not against Kansas. I will say
No,
not
just in
against
general,
Kansas.
they're not a
No,
good
no,
passing
no,
offense.
I think they
Sluka won
have
the
a
game with UNLV Kansas on it with his legs, bro. He won the game with his legs.
Yeah.
He made 8 completions, bro, on that game.
I'm aware. I'm not saying in the Kansas game. I'm saying though, as full, UNLV has one of the best running games for sure. The pass game, I think, isn't lacking though. I wouldn't say it's lacking.
They have one of the best wide receivers in the country, but their quarterbacks are lacking.
Yeah.
Their QB
and they're
room's
just
lacking.
more runners.
Yes,
Their
but
QB
they're
too.
more
Even
runners.
last week, they dominated against Fresno State, but their running back or their quarterback had more running yards than passing yards.
And that's what I'm saying. Their ground game is impeccable, but also their running. I feel like their pass game is not that bad.
Still, though, they haven't faced anyone like
That is
legit.
true.
Their
That is
pass,
true.
the only passing offense they faced was last week against TCU, and they couldn't match it. They couldn't
True.
keep up.
They couldn't keep up. Yeah, I see us beating. them
And
with
they were
35.
home. They had a great pick six. They had 2 interceptions on Josh Hoover. They won the turnover battle. They had all these contributing factors to them getting in, lining up to win last week. But TCU came out with the dub.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do. We need to outmatch them.
We need to. It's going to be a great game, guys. I'm
Sure.
so excited. Family weekend. Everybody hang out with your parents because
I know I am.
They probably miss you. Forks
Yeah.
up,
Forks
as
up,
always.
forks up.
Forks up. We
Forks
love you
up.
guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Let's go Devils.